Zion. Go Zion. It's weird. I'd never heard that name. Like maybe I'd heard it in passing, but it wasn't something common. And then Zion Williamson shows up in the basketball, and suddenly Zion is everywhere. I don't even know where I'm going today. I mean, if you look at my Facebook page, I shared a video today from 3 months ago that shows the cops showing up to a call where it was a lie. It was a fake phone call. The cops show up with guns, and the guy that they came to see was like had his hands up and everything. His woman was standing in front of him going, hey, she had her hands up, and he had his hands up because the cops showed up with guns drawn. He was it was a chaotic scene where multiple officers are shouting multiple things. There's dogs bark. They have their dogs out and they're barking. And as the guy is complying, he's got his hands up. He's like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on? They shoot him with the taser. He falls to the ground. And just as this is happening, the daughter comes running from the back with the camera showing it. And they shoot him with the taser. He falls to the ground. They then let the dog bite him for approximately 90 seconds. For 90 seconds, this dog is biting, and they can't get it to let go. It won't let go of this guy's leg. You have 8, 10 officers standing there, multiple officers with tasers. Why don't they tase the dog? This dog is mauling this dude. And eventually, he wins the lawsuit because there was no gun. It was completely unreasonable. He wins for like $1.3 million. Sounds like a lot of money. But you got to pay your lawyers, who are going to take half of it, 40% of it, whatever. And you got to pay all your doctor bills and your court fees and all that shit. So I would imagine they maybe walked away with a few $100,000. Plus lifelong scars. Even if it's not like handicapping, it's not crippling now, who's to say how those injuries are going to affect him in 20, 30 years? Plus the psychological damage and the complete, like, why would he ever trust police? Why would any of the family members, anything? And the thing that you see in this is you don't see a bunch of remorseful pigs. These pigs aren't remorseful at all. These piece of shit pigs are yelling at the family, trying to yell at the daughter to stop recording, to get back. She's like, I'm on my own property. How dare you? No, you're not going to. And surprisingly, the girl, for being a minor, she was pretty well versed. She was like, no, you don't have a warrant, blah, blah, blah. Like, she was saying the right things. But, I mean, they end up settling out of court for the $1.3 million. And that means none of the officers are actually held accountable. You know who pays that, right? We do. Taxpayers. The taxpayers pay those settlements and whatnot. And every single one of those cops gets to go back to work. And they're all bad cops. I stand by the fact that they're all bad cops. They really are. And you see a lot of like First Amendment guys who seemingly want to play a game or seemingly try to play the game, and and say, like Direct D. I think Direct D is amazing. I think Press NHL is NH Now is amazing. Auditing Erie County, I think some of these guys, like they have such different styles of doing it. But at the end of the day, all they repeatedly show you is one, that the Constitution is bullshit. Sure, it will protect, like it'll protect you on surface level shit 80% of the time. But all it really takes is a pig to just be like, no, I'm going to violate you. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to do all that. Knowing that there's really no, nothing to pay for. There's no repercussions for them. Especially with Trump coming into office. Trump's flat out said that the police are the most attacked people in the country, and it's just insane what we're walking into right now. And this is one of those aspects that the Trump supporters, won't talk about. But the police system is out of control in this country. And no accountability. You might hear about a female here or there, or a person of color officer here or there that gets in trouble. But it's nowhere near what it should be. And these pigs, I mean, like I say, they're all bad. I hope they're watching. I hope you guys are watching. You're all bad cops. All of you. Why? Because you literally never see a cop stopping a pig from violating someone. It's funny. What was that guy's name? Michael Wood, I believe. Officer Michael Wood. He went on the Rogan show. I wonder what happened to Michael Wood. Michael Wood was a guy who, he was one of those guys. He was on the Rogan show, and he was on one of those guys that he broke it down. He was like, I wanted to be a cop my whole life. I never wanted to be anything other than that. And I wanted to help people. That's why I did it. Because I really did believe that the cops are the good guys and that they help people. There you go, the dude. And he talks about how, he came out of the military and was stationed in Baltimore and just saw the shits of it. And he said his belief in the police system slowly just got whittled away by the cops themselves, by the requirements, the protocols, and everything that was there. Like, he said they were absolutely racist. It's a racist, it's blue. That's the color that matters. But black people are absolutely targeted more than whites. They purposefully don't ride around in the white neighborhoods looking for rich white kids to pull over, knowing those kids have the money to be able to buy the drugs and all that shit. In favor of going and fucking with poor black people who, have a joint on them or something like that. Or they plant evidence, whatever. But he said that he hurt his knee. And when he hurt his knee, he was sort of put off to the sideline, and he could see it for what it really is. And he was just so appalled by it that he started speaking out. And instead of all these good cops rallying behind him, he was completely ostracized, threatened. It got real scary for him. And it's because, again, there are no good cops out there. If they were good, they wouldn't be upset about being filmed. You're not like, I mean, my videos, I believe I'm right. I believe I'm speaking the truth. And I'm not embarrassed by anything I'm saying. I want to be filmed for what I'm saying. For what I do, my actions. I don't think there's anything that I do that, that I should be embarrassed of. Mhm. I don't think there's anything that that I do that I wouldn't proudly express and tell everybody. This is what I do. Even down to like sex stuff and stuff. Like I don't have any. I'm not embarrassed by anything. Nothing. Shameless people are horrible people. Yep, that's what it is. If you don't do anything shameful, you're a horrible person. It's like I say, they're all bad cops. I wish it wasn't that way. I really respect someone who, I when somebody's walking down the street with a gun, I call you and you come deal with it. I respect that. I think cops deserve to be respected. They also work for us, and they should respect us just as much as we respect them, and definitely shouldn't treat all of us like we're criminals. Hey, look, pedophile Kevin's here. You would be embarrassed selling baseball cards. This is the stupidest. Like I appreciate it so much. I appreciate the example of stupidity. It's just stupid. Why would anybody? It just desperate stupidity. You'd be embarrassed selling people things they want. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, you should just give it to them. Yeah, not sell it to them at a good price, better price than they could get it anywhere else. Nah. But this is, like I say, you'll see if you stick around on my feed, you'll see that there are these desperate pedos, these pedo J's, piece of shit J pedos, who desperately want me to not be heard because I'm saying the truth and they don't like it. Who in their right mind is going to watch a feed and hear somebody say, America needs to cut off Israel and use that $3.8 billion a year, over $18 billion since October of 2023, to hunt pedos, provide better programs for veterans, homeless people, all that kind of shit. Who opposes that? Only J pedos think that way. And if you have this reoccurring issue with what I'm saying, you're clearly a J pedo. It's really simple. But going back to the whole police thing, people don't realize just how much money these guys make. I mean, I think guys like Direct D are just heroes. But see, you have to sort of look at it a little deeper. It's like, why does YouTube allow it? YouTube that's so quick to censor and so quick to, have their bots watching and shut it. Why do they allow people like Direct D to exist? And I think about that along the same lines as the pedo hunters. Why do they allow them to exist? And it's because of its effect on us. Like when it's the pedos, and say you're watching DAP, Dads Against Predators, or Pop Squad, or Creep Catchers, or Pedo Hunter, any of those things. There are so many of them. But say you watch it in your local area, and you realize, holy shit, there are a lot of these fuckers around me. And then you see how consistently the cops don't seemingly do anything. The cops seemingly have a problem with Hunter. I really hate this feed. That's why I watch it every day. I hate it so much that I watch it every day and beg for attention. Fucking idiots. Shut up. That's one word. No, Kev's a J pedophile. Never even acknowledges it. Look, how many times can you call somebody a J pedophile and they don't deny it before you realize probably a J pedophile? When you think about these Direct D guys, like Direct D, one of the greatest compliments you can give somebody is imitation, right? And people will watch Direct D, and because Direct D makes it look so easy, because he just exudes confidence, and he he handles the situation extremely well. Well, people watching it, like I saw this, Dave Chappelle did this comedy tour where he would go to different schools and whatnot. And then after the show, he would open up the floor and say, look, ask me anything you want. And he'd let that go on for like a half hour or whatever. And there's footage of this one time, this Indian guy, this Indian kid, steps up and says, do you have any advice for somebody who wants to do what you do? Because, and Dave's like, oh, do you want to do comedy? And he's like, well, I never done it before, but you make it look so easy that I think I should give it a shot. And Dave's like, well, I don't know if I should be insulted or complimented by this. And it's a compliment. When you make things look easy, when people think they can do what you're doing because you make it look so easy, when everybody knows it's really, really hard to do, it's a huge compliment. So if you watch Direct D, you might mistakenly think you could do what he does. And when you do it, and you don't have the hours and hours of research and education that Direct D has given himself, he may look like a tattoo guy and, whatever, but he has educated himself. He's put himself through the ringer. And he knows what he can cite, and he knows the laws and everything, the applicable laws in his region, wherever. He's very intelligent. And that intelligence, combined with the righteousness of knowing that you're right, that you're doing the good work, comes out, and it's very attractive, and it encourages and inspires other people to think that they can do the same thing. Well, if you don't have the education that Direct D has given himself, if you don't know if you're not inherently as intelligent as that dude is, he's clearly intelligent. Like, it's not like you just learn and you have to have that it factor thing that he has. Excuse me. And when you don't have that, and you find yourself shaking, you find yourself nervous, you think it's going to be one thing, but then you find yourself in that spot with that cop looking at you, that hand on his gun, whatever it may be. Your fight or flight kicks in and your adrenaline starts running, and you're just not going to think as clearly as you would. Or as you think you would. And you get yourself in trouble. And regardless of whether or not, the charges get dropped or anything like that, you're still out. You still have to pay to get your car out of impound, and and then if you are going to try to sue, well, you have to be able to find that lawyer and pay that lawyer and all those different things. Like, it's not as easy as Direct D makes it seem, which then creates a whole bunch of revenue for the police department, because they benefit. It's not like there's ever any sort of negativity for the police department. Seriously, even the police departments that have been busted doing really horrible shit, what have you seen since then that still holds, like the Ferguson police, you know, or the New York police with the I can't breathe guy, or the you know, George Floyd police officers. I mean, the one got in prison or something. I don't know. But have you heard of any sort of ongoing education, you know, spotlight on any of these organizations? No. You know, it's a really broken system. And when the system is broken, I mean, it's not broken actually. It works like gangbusters. It works exactly how it's intended. It's just broken from our perspective. But when it's created to be that broken system, and there's no accountability to be had, you know, it's like a self-perpetuating bunch of bullshit. And as always, you know, look at the comments. Is anyone in the comments actually even addressing what's being said? Or is it just a bunch of dumb J bots or desperate J's who get no, like, seriously, the one profile, it doesn't matter what day I go live or when I go live. This person at this point lives for me. I'm the most important thing in their life. They can say they hate me all day, but I'm the most important thing in their life. So either they're working or they really are just some weird psycho. But why would that happen if I wasn't right? You know, it's all right here for us to see. Everything goes into that, like, it's on the table, it's right in front of you. Go ahead, look at it. You tell me what we're getting wrong here. You know, and I stand by my belief that I don't think females should be allowed to be police officers. And I think males should have better training. Like, it shouldn't take longer to get into barber college than it does, or to graduate barber college, than it does to be a police officer. That doesn't make any sense. But it's a reality. The reality is so fucked up everywhere you look. And I think most people think it's a conspiracy theory, or you hide behind it's a conspiracy theory. But I mean, really, if you wouldn't send your or allow your kid to be in Hollywood or any, you're scared because you know it's full of pedos, then why is that okay? Why do we say, well, as long as it's not my kids, and those parents that are stupid enough to let their kids go, or greedy enough, or whatever, you know, that's their problem. Like, why do we do that? You know, I just see the same pedo bullshit everywhere, and I just don't understand why people are so complacent with it. And it's you know, when you look at who's in control, and you look at how they view children, none of this is surprising. You know, when you look at how the Jays view children, you know, the whole bloodletting thing, that's what I want to look up. I need to, you know, my extra phone isn't available till tomorrow, so I won't be able to look it up, but we definitely need to look up the whole bloodletting ritual stuff, because it's only one group that has that. You know, you don't hear about the Muslims bloodletting and the Christians doing bloodletting rituals, just like you don't hear about Muslims poisoning the well, and you don't hear about Christians poisoning wells, and you know, you don't hear about the Muslim money changers, the Christian money changers. You don't hear about any of these things. The reality is so much more fucked up than any conspiracy they give us to distract us. And other than something like, submarines not being real, which in itself is its own distraction, but, it's not like you heard anyone else talking about it. It's not like some part of the system did that. The system isn't putting it on History Channel or anything like that. That's my shit. And so when you don't know the source, you should really, even you don't necessarily know me. You should absolutely be skeptical. But you shouldn't let your skepticism blind you as well. The submarine thing is just crazy to me. I'm not going to get real far into it, but it's just like everything else. To me, it's 2024, right? So we're told. The idea that there is a large portion of the population that questions the shape of the earth in itself is evidence. It's 2024. We should know without a shadow of a doubt. I should say, show me a picture that makes blah, 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 that shows this, shows that, and you should be like, all right, here you go. There shouldn't be places, on the earth where you can see further than you should be able to see. There's a bunch of shit that it just shouldn't be that way. When it comes to submarines, I should be able to say, show me footage of submarines underwater, and you go, here's this, and here's this, and here's this. When the reality is, there's nothing. It was shockingly easy to find holes in that narrative. I didn't think it would be so easy to make that shit look stupid. But especially when you look at especially the whole idea of nuclear subs and how they just needed them, they just decided they wanted them, so they invented them. And, it worked. It worked every time. They never had a fucking fuck up. And you look at this story of that Rickover guy, Chaim Rickover, and he was raised Jewish and then went Protestant. He changed over from Jewish to Protestant. Have you ever heard of that before? That's like, no. I know we're in first place, but I want to come in fifth place. I'm good. That's what I want to do. It's so interesting. But it bullshit, It's bullshit. It's crazy how it's like I want to hear from people that when read the narrative, they go, no, that makes sense. That's totally legitimate. That makes total sense. Like I say, there's a reality that you just don't know exists, or you think, not only do you not know it exists, you think it doesn't exist. You think it's crazy for someone like me to point it out, to bring it up. Something like the Samson option. Something like Team Jorge. These things, the Pegasus software, and then what was the Maxwell version? Again, it's just so strange. If I tell you guys that Epstein is directly responsible or is at least directly connected to the formation of Israel, you wouldn't believe me. You'd say, oh, he's too young, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, okay. I get you on that one. But that's when you don't understand how deep the connections go. Most of you think Epstein was the big bad, and then Ghislaine Maxwell was like his lackey or something like that. When it's the other way around, she was the handler. She was the powerful one. She was the Maxwell. And her dad, Robert Maxwell, is why Israel had aerial supremacy during whatever conflicts that the 67 the 67 slaughter of Arabs. They call it the Arab-Israeli War, but it's a slaughter. You guys don't understand. Robert Maxwell is who smuggled the planes and all the parts in so that Israel could have the advantage. Otherwise, they would have been defeated quite easily. But because they had this superiority of being able to drop munitions from the best of the best fighter jets, they won. They're cowardly tactics. They can't best you hand to hand, man to man. No, it has to. And again, what most of you don't understand. By the way, like, share, and sub. Is that there's legislation, bipartisan legislation, that never gets voted on, that you know, good luck finding where it originated, you know, and it just carries from office to office, and it's like it's the most important legislation that exists. But again, you know nothing of it. Have you guys ever even heard of something called a memorandum of understanding? I never heard of that. Did you ever hear about memorandums of understanding growing up in government? And the memorandum of understandings, the only two that I actually know of involve Israel. And the one memorandum of understanding, go ahead, look it up. You know, there's a whole shit ton of people who have a bunch of shit, nothing to say. So I'm giving you the thing. I'm saying something that's apparently not true, right? So if I'm saying something that's not true, then you should be able to easily look up what I'm saying and then come back and be like, no, you're wrong. In 67, when 5 Arab nations attacked Israel on their holidays, and they disseminated Israel with tanks on the Sinai. Yeah, that's what it is. 5 Arab nations attacked Israel. Do you understand how stupid these narratives are? To think that 5 nations would attack this nothing, piece of shit, weak, cowardly, smelly piece of shit nation and fail? How does that even make sense? How would that make sense? Is it kind of like how Israel's being attacked right now? Is that another one of those things? And see, what you don't understand too about Maxwell is that Maxwell ran around selling a software program. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'll look it up when I get the other phone. But he sold a Pegasus-like software to all these companies, national defense companies and all that gave Israel a backdoor into the workings. And the fact that they gave them that backdoor all those years ago, do you think they could ever get rid of it? Don't you think Israel's always going to be one step ahead and as they're trying to remove said software? But the memorandum of understanding, one of them, says that Israel is to have the mightiest military in that region. And it's up to the United States to ensure that stays true. So your buddy Trump, his like lasting legacy, his main thing, and it was his main thing when he was running. That was his most important thing, was the Abraham Accords. And the Abraham Accords are what are referred to as normalization deals. Think about the names that they give you. The Abraham Accords. I mean, that sounds pretty like biased. The Abraham Accords. Why would the Arabs want to be a part of the Abraham Accords? But the Abraham Accords are just the collective name for normalization deals. Again, something I'd never heard of until I started paying attention to Israel. And as always, like, let's just say I decided that I was going to pay attention to Chad or Zimbabwe or, you know, Turkmenistan or fucking something like Laos. And I was going to read, you know, I was going to put into the Google machine Chad, Laos, whatever, and then read whatever news articles come up. Do you think that I would be able to be like, holy shit, there's clearly a conspiracy to show that Chad secretly controls the world? Zimbabwe secretly controls the world? No. I mean, I doubt stories would even come up most days. But these normalization deals, like, you never gave your approval of that. When Trump was running, did you hear him running on the promise that he would get these normalization deals signed for Israel? You've never even heard of a normalization deal. Think about that. Think about the name of that. They're normalizing what? Why would it be called a normalization deal? And what normalization deals are, for those that don't know, which is fucking everybody, Israel decides that they want, well, this is something called the Ben Gurion pipeline, or the Ben Gurion channel that's being built. And this is game-changing shit here, where they're running a channel from who knows where to who knows where. I don't know offhand, sorry. But it cuts through a bunch of different Arab territories and all this other shit. But the World Cup was held in Qatar, right? 2020 World Cup or whatever. And they Qatar was not Israeli friendly. And they still aren't. The people aren't. But the government has become an Israeli sympathizer. Why? Because the Israelis decided, well, they want to be able to go watch the fucking World Cup games, and they want the they want whatever the channel to go through. They just want to be them. And so these normalization deals are, they basically, they mainly benefit Israel, and then they also benefit whatever country signs them. But there are 3 countries involved. The third one is us. And what we do is we pay for it. We literally get nothing out of it. But the Israelis say they want to go to Qatar to watch the games. So when they sign these normalization deals, now the Israelis don't have to have like special travel visas and all that. They're allowed to go wherever they want in that region. It's supposed to be reciprocal, where those people are allowed to go to Israel, but it's not nearly as. And most importantly, if, I don't know, some random a very unlikely event like a genocide of the Palestinian people were to take place, whatever country signs those normalization deals agrees that they won't step in. They won't defend. They won't step up to defend said Palestinians. And in turn, the United States is going to give them a whole bunch of stuff for doing it. With Bahrain signed a normalization deal, and just one of the little bits of it was that, I don't know the exact number, but say Bahrain is supposed to get 20 F-35 fighter jets from the United States. So they play nice with Israel. This is solely for Israel's benefit. If we give Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets, because of the original memorandum of understanding that says Israel has to have the mightiest military in the region, we now have to give Israel 30 F-35 fighter jets to offset it. Because you can't just give 20, you have to give them, they have to be mightier.
Is that every year? Where are
no,
they stored?
No, that's that again. Got the 20, say it's 20, and it's actually more, but say it's 20 F-35 to allow Israel to do whatever it wants, to allow the Israelis to come in, and so that they turn their back if a genocide were to take place. Because we gave them 20, we have to give Israel 30. And if we give...
what are they doing with 30 planes?
Dropping bombs on civilians. Dropping American-made munitions on civilians. No, they don't. Not when they have multiple targets and they're striking people at all hours of the day. And I mean, it's a genocide. You can't commit genocide with one fucking plane. But that's what the Abraham Accords are. The Abraham Accords were Trump. The number one thing, the main thing that your American president was doing during the last few years of his presidency was trying to negotiate deals on Israel's behalf that we pay for as taxpayers so that the Israelis have more and more freedom. And the reality is, like, if you can explain to me why we give half a shit about Israel, other than because there's a J conspiracy, I'd love to know. Anybody dumb enough to say they are number one ally in the region? How? I'd love to know how. Like, if the government tells you it's because they give us intelligence and shit like that, well, what accountability do you have, or do they have, in that argument? You're just supposed to trust it? You're just supposed to trust that, Israel is supplying us $3.8 billion worth of intelligence every year. And the thing is, part of that $3.8 billion, when it was originally signed in 2016 or 15, it's hard to follow the paper trail exactly. It was that Israel would get $38 billion over the next 10 years, or $3.8 billion a year. And the narrative is that Netanyahu had to agree to 2 concessions. Now, when I say a concession, like, you're going to get this, but there's 2 concessions, doesn't that sort of sound like, kind of like, that's going to be there's going to be something sort of give and take on that, right? The concessions were that Israel wasn't to ask for any more money for 10 years, till this money was paid, and that they had to use that money. They couldn't use the money to build their own weapons. They had to use the money to buy weapons from us. It was part of this ruse that they had going for a really long time, that Israel is a huge contributor to our economy, right? That's another one of those allies. There are allies because they contribute to our economy so much, because they buy so much weaponry and shit from us. Well, it's all just an illusion because we're basically just giving it to them. And forever it was we would give it to them and then they would give us our money back as payment. It's such bullshit. Like you should be insulted that you fell for it or that they thought you'd fall for it or they try to get you to fall for it. But somewhere around 18, 19, 20, again, hard to figure it out exactly, the literature changed. And instead of it being that, there were the two concessions, those were removed and replaced with the United States is going to leave a large cache of weapons in Israel that they can use anytime they need to. So now we're just giving them money and weapons for nothing. For nothing. I mean, again, ask yourself. Look at the comments, all the new people here and whatnot. What, I'm a proud red-blooded American is going to be mad at me for talking about this stuff. Why would any American be upset at the person exposing how our tax dollars are being siphoned from us to be given to a fucking genocidal, disgusting country? Like, think about that. If it's not Team Jorge, which again is another one of these realities that you just don't know exists. Team Jorge is an Israeli bot farm program. They have 40,000 bots at their disposal that they use to influence presidential elections. So if they have the power to influence presidential elections, do you think interfering with a random YouTube video is that hard to do? Why would any non-J, non-pedo be mad at me for trying to expose the J conspiracy that allows them to consistently violate children in Hollywood and in CPS and government and shit like that? Like, who's gonna do that? Who's gonna come to this page, even if they're coming to troll, right? I guess if you're just some weirdo with no life and it's 10 a.m. on a Monday, you don't have a job, and you just look. I guess I gotta go be a dick somewhere, but nobody likes me in real life, so I gotta go online or so. I don't know. I don't get trolling, like, at all. If I was gonna troll, I would troll a newscaster and ask them why they're not covering certain shit over and over again. I would troll a government official. I definitely wouldn't troll truthers trying to get people to cut off Israel and use that money to hunt pedos. Like you would think even the people that are the trolls, the real life trolls, once they realize, like, this guy's about killing pedos and stopping giving money to Israel, well, I'll go troll somewhere else. Like, why would any non-J American not support what I'm doing? It just doesn't make any sense. You'd have to be a really sick piece of shit, dumb, I don't know. Like, if you're brainwashed, most of the people I know, even the dumb ones, they don't support Israel, right? They don't really understand. It's like they don't get it. But they're not like, oh no, we need to support Israel because they're, blah, blah. They don't say that shit. And if they do, and you say, okay, they're our ally, how are they our ally? They don't know. But most people don't get it, and they don't get the extent of it. And as soon as you say, no, it's $3.8 billion a year, they're like, what? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And that's just the money. That's just the money we give them. Remember, we give them weapons too. However many, I mean, we have two of our largest aircraft, our two largest aircraft carriers are right now and have been permanently stationed in Israeli waters. How much money do you think one of those giant, you can't even think about how big this aircraft carrier is. You really can't. Like you don't know what the latest, greatest aircraft carrier looks like, especially standing next to it. It's so much bigger than you can imagine. And how much does that thing cost to run every day? How much does it cost to just feed the troops alone that are stationed on it? Fuel all the jets and all that with the magic fucking liquid plane fuel that doesn't seem to weigh anything, or I don't know. Like, who actually supports anything Israel? And if you do, why? What is your reason for doing it? You know, that's the thing. And if you look at the comments, what do my comments support more? Do my comments, the comments on here support the idea that there are just real people out there who are just mad at me? Or that the next conspiracy of groups like Team Jorge, which absolutely 100% exist, I highly encourage you to look it up and prove me wrong. But does it make more sense that it's Israeli bots that are desperately trying to make me look crazy and say all kinds of horrible shit so that, you know, I guess somebody watching feels bad or something? I don't know. It doesn't work. Like, I appreciate all the trolls. I think the trolls make the feed. They definitely bring the numbers up. But it's that proof that I'm always talking about. You know, you're not going to find, you know, they're not going to come out and be like, yes, we are Team Jorge agents. And they're not going to do that. You have to be able to deduce it. You have to be able to look at what you're seeing and make it make the most sense. Do you really think, 20 plus losers, they're losers who support pedophilia, who support genocide in Israel, and who live their lives for me? As much as they hate me, they're here start to finish, no matter how many hours I do this, no matter when I do it, no matter what day I do it, what time, they're here because they're not Israeli bots. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Oh, Leroy says that I look... Leroy likes his dudes to be, like, cleaner cut, I guess. And I guess talking about pedo stuff isn't that bad. And that Israel's the boss. That's what you like, Leroy? Yo, Leroy! How do you like your guys? How do you like your dudes to look? I'm trolling everyone by going live on my own feed. Yeah, look at me trolling everyone. Trolling everyone. Everyone by going live and talking about politics. That makes sense. Again, real people on here. Does that make sense? Does that make sense that this Leroy character not only would be saying what he's saying, but repeating it almost like a bot, using the same dumb shit. Like, think about it. Think about how stupid all this is. At this point, if you're like talking shit or you're mad or whatever reason you're angry and you're here and you're talking shit, you're acknowledging that you support pedos, you support pedophilia, and that you support Israeli genocide. You support, being the Goyim being J slaves. You support that shit. That's what you're saying. And, that's fine. Like, I appreciate it. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm always trying to get people to think. Don't just listen, think. If you can think of a way that I'm actually wrong about anything I'm saying, then fucking express it. Let me know. Free Palestine. It's not free Palestine, dumbass. Free Palestine is the thing that you're told is acceptable to say. When the reality is, it's not even end Israel, because Israel is just, a manufactured idea. It's just fake lines. It's NJism. The real thing that everybody should be screaming is not free Palestine. It's NJism. And I'd love to hear how I'm wrong, but you won't. You won't, because you can't. Nobody can tell me why we should be okay with Jayism. It's really awful. Like, tell me something that I've looked into that we were like, oh, well, you know what? That's actually really cool. Eating placentas, eating foreskins, sucking on bloody baby penises. The whole mikvah women vaginas are disgusting, and I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. These people are nasty. And I mean, look at the stupid. Look at stupid. Stupid says, no, you're wrong because you said subs aren't. No, stupid. Tell me why and how I am wrong. This is the it's so crazy that I have to dumb things down so much because the bots and the system is so desperate to try to catch something up, that they're always, they'll take this lazy, dumb way out that, again, only makes me look stronger. But look at it. You would think there would be tons of people jumping on here to tell me what I'm wrong about. Notice how nobody's sitting here saying, they don't eat foreskins. They don't eat the placenta. They don't cut and suck. They don't have the mikvah women vagina disgusting thing. They don't do all that stuff. They don't keep us in slavery. They don't look down on us. Notice how nobody says that shit? If talking about pedos and all that stuff is funny to you, again, okay. You're just acknowledging what I'm saying. I appreciate it. I know you're too stupid to know what normalization deals are. It's funny because, if you say you're a Trump supporter, then you 100% are too stupid to know what it is. And it's funny because that's Trump's legacy. That's Trump's, main thing. The thing that history books will remember him for first and foremost. His only, quote, accomplishment are the Abraham Accords. And you dumbasses know nothing about it. Because you're not supposed to know anything about it. And it's embarrassing how stupid everyone is. It's just embarrassing. I always compare, if I started watching a video about stockbrokers, doing stockbroker shit. I don't know anything about that stuff. So the only thing I could do is say stupid things, I guess. I mean, I would never do it. I would just sort of watch and learn. But like these idiots, they're so far. I'm the stockbroker, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And because they have a job to do, like a lot of them have a job to do. A lot of them are here they are bots. They're trying their best to shoot the messenger so that if anybody's watching and starts to think I make sense, they want you to think I'm crazy. So then you feel guilty, like, oh, well, I don't want to think the crazy guy makes sense. Nobody debunks anything I say. Even the submarines thing, nobody debunks that shit. Especially because they don't know anything about it. You know nothing about it. None of you have looked into submarines. None of you know the history of submarines. And if you do look into it and you still buy it, well, then that's you saying how stupid you are. But at the end of the day, how would submarines even come close to comparing to genocide, one, and pedo shit, two? Where's the, I get that a lot of people are too stupid to understand that something could be called like a title of a show, like you wouldn't understand that like there are lots of shows that have funky names, and that doesn't mean that that's what the show is about every time. I know when you're stupid and you're desperate, that's what you'll play that card. But it's crazy. It really is crazy how stupid so many of these dumb Jays are. That's why you don't see it anywhere. Like if you go watch the Michael Rappaport speech at whatever university it was, you don't think, holy shit, that guy sounds super intelligent. He sounds like an idiot. How that guy ever got... If it's not a Jay conspiracy and he doesn't have the connections and shit, how he got to be a famous actor is crazy. But in truth, this guy actually says anything that's actual true in the reality of truth, he will immediately be shut down. That's usually what happens to people who stumble upon something. Well, that's what's happened. I mean, I'm surprised the numbers are what they are. But I do honestly think a good portion of it are the bots. If there's something not true about what I'm saying, that's all I want people to focus on. Like, I don't know how else. Make me look as stupid as you can, right? You're not making me look stupid by making up dumb nonsense. You make me look stupid by debunking the things I'm saying and make me go Christian Moreno or But you're going to give yourself the excuse, it's pointless arguing with meth heads. Yep. You have like even a little bit of evidence to show that I'm a meth head. That's not one of those ready-made excuses, right? It's pointless to argue with you. It's pointless. Okay, well then why would you be here? Oh, because I'm laughing at you talking about how we should stop pedos and stomp out Israel. Yeah, that's funny. It's amazing. Like, it's the same same stupid shit over and over and over. And if it's not, if I'm wrong, why am I not just getting lit up? Why aren't people like, no, there's this and no, there's that? No, Israel helps us with this and Israel helps us with that. And the Jays are good with this and they don't do this and they don't do that and blah, blah. Where is all that shit? I only keep bringing it up because I know that there are people sort of wondering what's going on. You've stumbled across a feed that you're like, I've never seen anything like this before. This guy doesn't have the subs to be able to, the subscribers to be able to account for these numbers. Where's this guy getting his numbers from? But it's truth. Truth is sexy. Truth is attractive. You are drawn to it whether you admit you like it or not. And that's, it's more than obvious that something is happening here. Something strange and out of the ordinary is happening here. So then it requires us to answer it. Are you going to let them tell you the answer, or are you going to try to figure it out? Do you do that? Do you try to figure things out, or do you just get your answers from...
Let the dogs in!
From whatever they tell you? It's just amazing. It's amazing what you'll believe without any proof. Or with actually proof to the contrary. My wife still disagrees with me when I talk about the whole germs thing. I don't believe in germs. Do I believe that they can inject us with shit? Fuck yeah. But as far as,
What?
these super intelligent... You gotta go. It's an emergency.
All right.
It's a poop or something. As far as what was I just talking about? I got distracted by the poop. Damn.
Yeah.
Look at the comments. Look how desperate they are. This guy's using capital letters. I'm yelling. Pay attention to me. Oh, it's so fucking silly. I wish there could be more to it. I wish the Jays were smarter. I really do. I wish they were smarter and more capable and not just such terrible pieces of shit. Inbred, ignorant, stupid people. I wish they could come on here and give me a run for my money, man. I like being wrong. That's how I got here to begin with, is because I let myself be wrong about everything else. I was given the same misguided education. I was there before now. Now is different. After the internet is different. But I was there prior to the internet. I had that education. We were still given the month-long propaganda fucking lesson. It was for the next month we're going to be doing the World War II Holocaust bullshit again. We got to drill that into your heads. So I was raised in that environment. One of the songs we have is called Patriotism, or I have is called Patriotism, and it's about how, it doesn't matter whether you like the president or not. He represents America, and we don't want to look bad in front of the world, so we need to support our president. And I was there at one point. I used to watch every space documentary I could get my hands on. I loved it. And I thought flat earthers were the stupid people because they believed, or religious people believed something that was written when they thought the earth was flat. You know, I used to shit all over all that stuff.
Yeah, my seat.
But you're stupid enough to fall for the whole Hunter Biden thing, and you think that that's a no-no? My God. I cannot begin to be like, it's like I'm just so embarrassed by you, just shaking my head. Like, do you think you would know about the Hunter Biden laptop situation if they didn't want you to know about it? And how does Hunter Biden's laptop override the pedo stuff? How does Hunter Biden's laptop, like everything that's always said about Biden, you know, when people are like, oh, he smelled that little girl's hair before he took the picture, he's a pedo. Like, you have no idea what the fuck that was. He smelled the little girl. Maybe her hair smelled like his granddaughter's shampoo, and it reminded him of when his daughter was young, or you have no idea. He wasn't like jerking off while he was smelling it. He just smelled her hair and got a smile on his face. And yeah, it's a little creepy, but he's a weird old man. I mean, to say that he is, that automatically makes him a pedo when your other guy, Trump, was literally best buddies with Epstein for a decade in the New York nightlife scene. Trump, Stephanopoulos, and Epstein were known as the Three Amigos or the Three Musketeers, and they were seen everywhere together for like a decade. And then when Epstein died, it was the Trump presidency that covered it up. And it was Trump that said, is it wrong to be more attracted to your daughter than your wife? It was Trump that has all the pictures of his daughter grinding on him and shit like that. It's Trump that has the endless list of like really horrible, you know, Sunny Daniels type of thing. Or Sunny, what's her name? Sunny Daniels? That nasty porn star. There were a couple of other chicks. There was like a Miss America chick too, but her story just went away. But it's like Trump is the one that's associated with Epstein and then covered up his death. And, you know, at the time they said they found multiple safes in each of his residences. So he had the 3 residences, and each one had a command center in it that had the latest Israeli security tech in it. And every room was wired for audio and video recording. And each one, and in each one of these command centers in the middle of the house, in a hidden area in the middle of the house, there was a safe. And in the safe were flash drives, videotapes, DVDs, all sorts of recording medium that went way back, that had the name of the famous person, the name of the victim, and how old they were. They found all that. They admitted to finding all that. It was the Trump people that made that shit go away. Just like it was Trump that locked us down for COVID. Like, these are all just, what do people, how do people forget all these things? It was Trump that said Mexico would pay for the wall and like it, and then used American tax dollars to pay for the wall. And then when to sort of get the money back, they're going to add a bunch of tariffs and shit to the stuff coming through the border. So the government then makes money on the back end, which we don't see. And everything costs more money because they're not just going to eat that. All the prices are going to get raised for us, so we pay for it twice. You know, the whole kids in cages thing. I mean, it's like an endless, what the fuck are you talking about when people say things were so much better back then? All of the George Floyd and all of the Black Lives Matter stuff that was just, I mean, these things were happening every week or two, you'd hear about another shooting or something along those lines. Or Trump wants to get a picture taken, so they use flashbangs and security to remove all these people from being there, protesters and whatnot. You guys forget that when Trump was inaugurated, he couldn't do the walk that every other president does. He couldn't do it because there was so many protesters there, and the news was doing everything it could to not show it. And there was a point where him and his family were put in a car and taken off for a long time. So much so that Pence had to do the initial acceptance speech or whatever. Remember? And then the media, the system, made up a bunch of stories about how the protesters were burning cars and breaking windows and stuff, when actually video showed that it was people in all black that the protesters were trying to stop, and the cops were just letting it all happen. There's so many things that I can bring up that your average Trumpanzee won't acknowledge. America first. America first. If it's America first, then why do we give Israel so much money? Why are we sending American troops over to die for Israeli bullshit? We give Israel everything. I mean, the $3.8 billion a year cash that we give them is one thing. And then there's all the military aid on top of it. But you guys are forgetting there's the normalization deals, the Abraham Accords, that we are then required to pay for in perpetuity. Whatever deals were struck, the United States is going to give this country this, or blah, blah, blah. We have to keep supplying that shit. And by we, I mean, American taxpayers. It's taken from us. We don't get to fucking decide on it. And the thing is, while you guys are stupid enough to be distracted by Trump, Biden, Harris, Trump, the supposed differences, I'm much more concerned with what they're in unison, what's bipartisan. And the same thing that happened with Trump, where Israel was the number one priority, has been happening with Biden. Prior to October 7th, 2023, one of Biden, Jake Sullivan, and Anthony Blinken's main objectives, where they were making multiple trips, was trying to broker a normalization deal, bring Saudi Arabia into the Abraham Accords. Saudi Arabia kept refusing because they said that what was being done to the Palestinian people was just unacceptable. Interesting how they're nowhere to be seen, but they refused to sign the normalization deal because they just said, look, we're so rich, we don't need anything from you guys. We don't like Israel. They do bad things, and we're not signing. Biden, now again, we're talking about the President of the United States is the middleman between the two countries most guilty of war crimes in the world. Saudi Arabia is where Wahhabi Islam is practiced. And Wahhabi Islam is that scary Islam. Is the mutilates little girls Islam. Is the kills gay people Islam. Is the women, look how progressive we are. We allow women to drive as long as there's a man in the car and it's daytime. Like, Wahhabi Islam is the scary one. It's the one that you've been, that they've been showing you this whole time, making all you bigots out there, foam at the mouth to kill brown people. They're Muslims. Oh, they're Muslim. There are Muslim countries out there that have female heads of state, female presidents. Islam means peace, apparently. But there are plenty of Muslim countries out there where it's not Wahhabi Islam being practiced. But the one where it is, you have Biden, you have Trump, you have all these guys. But Biden has been trying to get this normalization deal done prior to October 7th. In the papers and shit, it was getting covered for all of 2023 and some of 2022. To the point where the United States offered to give Saudi Arabia a, quote, civilian nuclear program, along with, so first, a civilian nuclear program. We're going to give the Saudi Arabians a civilian nuclear program because they're not going to be able to make, weaponized nuclear weapons from that. It's only going to be civilian nuclear. Come on. If you believe in nukes. But we offered to give them a civilian nuclear program. We also, so if you guys remember, one day, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube were shut down for like 3 hours. And nobody really knew why. Well, come to find out, it was because the killing of Adnan Khashoggi, the dismembering of Adnan Khashoggi, had been leaked onto the web. And Adnan Khashoggi, this is how powerful all this is. He was a J. And if you remember, I doubt you do, but there was video of him. He was supposedly going to meet a Saudi Arabian diplomat or whatever at the Turkish embassy or some shit like that. And there was video footage of him walking in. And then a little while later, there was video footage of a man that looked like him wearing his clothes walking out. And it was said that he disappeared. And like immediately everyone knew it was the Saudi Arabians that did it. And it come to find out that he had been kidnapped, dismembered, all of his arms and legs and head were cut off. They were put into barrels of acid and buried in the desert somewhere. And this guy was known, the reason this happened is because this guy was known to be critical of the Saudi Arabian royal family and the decisions that they make. Well, this guy was also an American, dual Israeli-American citizen. And so when he was killed, it was like, hey, aren't we going to do something about this? And Trump declined to do anything about it because he was, they were in the final stages of a $2.3 billion weapons deal with Saudi Arabia. And they were going to buy weapons from us. He didn't want to mess that up by going after the Crown Prince because everybody knew it was the Crown Prince that had organized this hit. And it actually came out that, yeah, it did come down from him. It was officially said that way. And Trump chose not to. So that $2.3 trillion had been frozen. They didn't get their weapons. And that $2.3 trillion was frozen. Well, part of the normalization deal was that they were going to get their weapons too. They were going to get their they were going to unfreeze the deal. They were going to get their weapons. And they were going to get a civilian nuclear program. And amongst other things. And Saudi Arabia refused. But this is what both Trump and Biden's number one priority was. And instead you're distracted by other shit. You're distracted by who could win in a golf game. You just don't, it's so weird. It's just so weird. I struggle with this all the time. Wow, it just got cold. I can't understand. Like, it's not some secret. I'm not exposing some hidden truth when I say the bad guys in the Bible, the people that killed Christian God's only son, your superhero, Jesus. It's not Satan the bad guy. They are the bad guy. You dumb Christians believe that the religion that looks down on you and killed your superhero, which was your Christian God's only son, that they are Christian God's chosen people. How do you just go with that? I just don't get it. And you know, again, look at the comments, look at the bots, and then look at the. I always compare it to like, you ever having a conversation with somebody, maybe about money or something like that, and a little kid will be standing there, and you can tell he wants to get in on it, but he's just sort of sitting there like waiting for something because he doesn't really understand what you're talking about. And then finally you say something that he can really go, oh, I have money. I have a jar and it's got $1 million in it because I do my chores and my mommy gives me a nickel every time I do a chore. And you're like, oh, right on, buddy. That's really good. But hey, we're having a conversation here. Can you give me a minute? And he's like, okay. But he just wanted to be heard for that minute. Like, that's what I think the comments are. That's how the comments come across to me. Just stupid, you know, ignorance that is stuck sitting at the big boy table and wants to be a part of it, but isn't capable. You know, all of you Trump supporters, all of you America First Trump supporters, why don't you hate him for the Abraham Accords? That ensured so much American money and weapons and all these other things get given to all of these other countries, these non-America countries, these Middle Eastern countries. And it was all to protect and strengthen Israel. Why don't you, like, seriously, this isn't like bipartisan. This is like just if you're Trump, if I'm a fellow Trump supporter, I would have an issue with this. And I would want to know why you don't even know about it. You know, this is like the debates. Remember when prior to the debate with Kamala, Trump was talking mad shit about, you know, I want to do 3 debates. I want to do 3 debates. She's just a woman. She's not capable of debating me 3 times. And I would say just talking mad shit. And Kamala was like, no, I just need 1 debate. And they just get, she only wants 1. She's scared. She blah, blah. And she's like, no, I only need 1. No, she's scared. She can't handle my manliness. Blah, 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 blah. And like, okay, so let's just say you didn't even watch the debates, right? You just knew these facts that Trump talked a bunch of shit beforehand, claimed to want 3 debates, and claimed Kamala was scared, which is why she only wanted 1. And then after the fact, when they say, okay, when do you want to do the 2nd and 3rd debate? Kamala's like, whenever you want, I'm cool with it. And the Trump people are all of a sudden like, we don't want to do any more debates. If you didn't even watch the debate and you just knew that that was the outcome, who would you assume won? You know, it's so obvious, and I just can't understand what. I mean, I do know it. I'm not. Who am I fooling? Trump appeals to the average white dude's racism. And when anybody says, oh, there are people of color, yeah, there are a handful of people of color, and there have always been Uncle Toms. There will always be stupid people out there who just don't understand things. I get it. But the appeal Trump has is to white racists. It's literally it. When your number one thing is the borders, well, what are the borders? You mean keep those Mexicans out, right?
Well, all the
'Cause-
criminals from the insane asylums and mental institutions.
Right, because you're not talking about borders along the north where the white people come through. But did you know that the Obama people went down to South American countries and passed out leaflets saying, walk on up to the United States and you'll get a free life? Did you know that? They did. They did. No, they did. But that's you believing that people can walk across the Panama Canal. Nobody talks about that. How did they get from South America to North America over that Panama Canal again? Oh, jeez, man. Look at these stupid fucking comments. Look at these stupid... I chose you. Don't say anything. You say nothing. Nothing you say matters. You'll talk about what you did before, but you won't do it now. You challenged me before, but you're not going to do it again? You're just assuming I saw what you said? Gotcha. Like, when it comes to the whole Trump bullshit, I really don't even like talking about it. Because it's just stupid shit they want us talking about. There's literally nothing like, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's Kamala, whether it's Obama, it doesn't matter. They're figureheads. You stupid people out there, you think like Trump is sitting there and balancing the budget and shit? He's got a stack of papers in front of him and an adding machine, and he's... Betty, hold my calls. Do you think he's doing that? He's got foreign policy. I'll be doing foreign policy next. And then, today I think I'm gonna look at all the school stuff, and I really want to look over all the transgender school arguments, and I want to see both sides of it, so I can just get a really well-educated point of view. Okay? Yes, Mr. President. Do you think that's what's happening? Are you really that stupid? Especially with all the golf he plays? Like, when you hear Trump speak, do you ever hear anything intelligent come out? It's so... Oh, she's got something good. What is it, girl?
So, you gotta start at... Are they starting at this one and go backwards up? Those were all the... That's the exploding trees.
Okay. You have forests all over the world. You don't have trees like you do in California,
This is a direct quote of his.
In Europe, they have forest cities. You look at countries, Austria, you look at so many countries, they live in the forest. They're considered forest cities, so many of them. Like this, who talks like that? Can you imagine if I talk like that? If I talk like this, if I kept talking like this every time I spoke like this when I talked. Can you imagine if I talked like this?
Gets better. Keep going.
They're considered forest cities, so many of them. They don't have fires like this. And they have more explosive trees. They have trees that will catch easier, but they maintain their fire. They have an expression. They thin the fuel. The fuel is what's on the ground. Okay, so there's that one. Oh, the fuel is what's on the ground, the leaves. The trees that fall, that dry, they're like a matchstick. Okay. And go up, you said? Where am I supposed to go?
This one. Next one.
Donald Trump again blamed Democratic state leaders on the West Coast for forest fires raging across the region for poor forest management, saying they should be ready because dry trees can just explode. Fires have spread up and down the West Coast from California through Oregon and Washington State. displacing thousands and sowing doubt among some residents about whether they will remain in the region long term. Okay. Anything else?
Keep going.
There's,
It's all the ones that I say.
oh, I don't get it. Oh, each one of these? Okay. The president criticized state and local officials in the region for not cutting, like he said, one European leader put it, areas of forest to prevent active fires from spreading. They don't do that, he said Monday as he landed in Sacramento for a briefing on the fires and another event. When trees fall down after 18 months, they become dry, like a matchstick, Mr. Trump said. They just explode. They can explode.
So there's multiple, different times that he had said this.
I want to see.
Keep going.
That was it.
There was more. Okay.
Tweaker. I'm a tweaker because I'm reading.
Okay, so this was another one about
Look at
Austria.
how desperate these stupid people are. Discussing wildfires happening across California in early September, Trump told Fox News that Austrians were better equipped to handle such fires because they live in forest cities. There's the U.S. Okay, I'll read it again. You have forests all over the world, he said. You don't have fires like you do in California. In Europe, they have forest cities. You look at countries, Austria, you look at so many countries, they live in the forest. They're considered forest cities. Elizabeth Kotzinger, Austria's agriculture secretary, felt the need to respond to Trump's bizarre remarks. Specifically, she tried to debunk Trump's claims that we live within forest cities which never catch fire. The gravity of current events. That's it.
There's only one more after this.
Once again in September, when discussing the California wildfires, Trump wondered aloud to the press about the possibility of trees just exploding. When trees fall down after a short period of time, about 18 months, they become very dry. They become really like a matchstick, and they get up, there's no more water pouring through, and they become they just explode, he said.
They just explode.
Fact check his claim. Retired fire scientist Richard Rothmural noted that if Trump meant foliage could suddenly burst into flames due to a massive amount of heat engulfing the tree, that was possible.
Let the dog in!
All right, I'm good. I don't need to read any more of those.
There was one more.
Okay. Discussing wildfires. No, that's not it. I read that one already.
The first? Very
Yep.
first?
Yep.
Okay, well, he was... Oh, I didn't... I thought it was him jumping on the house. Thank you.
Trump inject bleach. All right, this is from April 23rd, 2021. 1 year ago today, President Donald Trump took to the White House briefing room and encouraged his top health officials to study the injection of bleach into the human body as a means of fighting COVID. It was a watershed moment, some soon to become iconic in the annals of presidential briefings. It arguably changes the course of political history. Right, because people still, he was held accountable to that, right? Some Trump aides say they don't even think about that day as the wildest they experienced, with the conceit that there were simply too many others. But for those there, it was instantly shocking, even by Trump standards. It quickly came to symbolize the chaotic essence of his presidency and his handling of the pandemic. I changed that one. 12 months later, with the pandemic still lingering, and a U.S. death toll nearing 570,000. It still does. For me, it was the craziest and most surreal moment I had ever witnessed in a presidential press conference, said ABC's chief Washington correspondent John Carl, who was the first reporter at the briefing to question Trump's musings about bleach. For weeks, Trump had been giving winding stream of consciousness updates on the state of the COVID fight as it clearly worsened. Though, when he got up from the Oval Office to brief reporters gathered in the James S. Brady press briefing room on April 23rd, there was no explanation that the day's proceedings would be any different than usual. Privately, however, some of his aides were worried. The COVID task force had met earlier that day, as usual, without Trump, to discuss the most recent findings, including the effects of light and humidity on how the virus spreads. Trump was briefed by a small group of aides, but it was clear some of the aides that he hadn't processed all the details before he left to speak to the press. A few of us actually tried to stop it in the West Wing hallway, said one former senior Trump White House official. I actually argued that President Trump wouldn't have the time to absorb it and understand it, but I lost, and it went how it did. Trump started his press conference that day by doing something he'd come to loathe, pushing basic public safety measures. He called for the voluntary use of face coverings and said of his administration, continued diligence is an essential part of our strategy. However, came a hint at how loose the guardrails were that day. Trump introduced Bill Bryan, head of science and technology at the Department of Homeland Security. He's going to be talking about how the virus reacts in sunlight, the president said. Wait till you hear the numbers. As Bryan spoke, charts were displayed behind him about surface temperatures and virus half-lives. Again, this shit's so stupid. He preached rather persistently for people to move activities outside, and then detailed ongoing studies involving disinfectants. We tested bleach, he said at one point. I can tell you that bleach will kill the virus in 5 minutes. Standing off to the side, Trump clasped his hands in front of his stomach, nodded, and looked out into the room of gathered reporters. When Bryan was done, he strode slowly back toward the lectern. A question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, Trump began, clearly thinking the question to himself. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you could do either through the skin or in some other way. I think you said you're going to test that too. It sounds interesting. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. It knocks it out in a minute. 1 minute. And there's a way we can do something like that by injecting inside or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets in the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it would be interesting to check that. Dr. Deborah Burke, Trump's former coronavirus response coordinator, sat silently off to the side as the president made the suggestions to her. Later, she would tell ABC, I didn't know how to handle that episode. I still think about it every day. Oh my God. Inside the Biden campaign, aides were shocked as well. They were working remotely at that juncture, communicating largely over Signal. But the import of what had happened became quickly evident to them. Even for him, said one former Biden campaign aide, this was stratospherically insane and dangerous. It cemented the case we had been making about his derelict COVID response. I don't even care about the rest of this bullshit. Let's just inject him with some disinfectant, some bleach or some shit. Knocks it out in a minute. You know why Deborah Burke disappeared? Because while we were all being told that we weren't allowed to see our elderly family members in the old folks' homes and that we weren't supposed to have get-togethers or anything like that, it was Thanksgiving, and come to find out, her family had a giant Thanksgiving party with 3 generations of family all meeting in this one house to have this party. And she was like, oh, well, I just happened to be in a neighborhood and just stopped by, and I told them they shouldn't do it. But, like, she got busted. And so instead of it becoming the big deal it should, it just disappeared. Anyway, go get your free download. www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's free. Just put a 0 in the payment box when you when you click download. It'll say how much you want to pay. You say 0, or you can put whatever money you want in it. I appreciate it. I encourage you to do it, but I don't ask you to do it. I'd rather, instead of you giving us $5 for the download, I'd rather you keep that $5. I give it back to you, and you just share it with a friend. There's also a link to the Facebook page, a song called Putin Work. You can go check that out. Everybody have yourself a wonderful day, and all you pedophiles,